It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is June 20th. This is Cocaine Day, where when you travel the highways in Colorado, you will notice that the mile marker 620, the sign's gone. Did you ever hear the story about the mile marker in Colorado? Do you know this crazy story?
Yeah, you've talked about it many times on the show, Brad. But for folks who are joining us for the first time, explain the story.
There's a mile marker on I-70 in Colorado, this mile marker 420. And the sign keeps getting stolen. So they didn't put the sign back in the same place. They put 419.9 and a tenth of a mile down further. They put 420.1. So nobody steals.
And people were stealing it, of course, because 420 is Adolf Hitler's birthday.
Is it really his birthday?
Yeah.
Is it really Adolf Hitler's birthday in 420?
Yeah, you can look it up.
I did not know that. Okay. Can I play another audio clip? I see.
Yeah, please do, Brad.
And I know I sent you the video yesterday, and here's the interesting thing. If I say, John, read this, or John, you'll find this interesting, or John, you'll enjoy this article. If I send it to John, he never reads it. And I made a mistake. What I should do is, when I sent you the video, I should have said, John, you're going to hate this video. Don't watch it. Then he go, I'm going to watch it.
I know. Of course, I didn't watch it. Now, this is the third day in a row that we've talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger on The View. Is there anything new coming from this, Brad?
I sent you the whole interview, the video of it, where I don't know what it is. I don't know who the woman is. I don't know. I know who Kelly Bay or Joy Behar, and I know who Whoopi is. I don't know the rest of the clan. Okay, she's one of the younger ones, and she reaches as Arnold's talking, and she touches his bicep. Like, what did you say that if a woman does that to a man and he's talking, what does that mean, John?
She probably wants to undress him. No. Or more likely, she probably wants him to undress her.
No, that's not what did you say?
No, your thing was, because based on your own personal experience with constantly being cucked and pedestalizing women, it's women touching you to say, please be quiet, honey.
Yes.
Now I can't think of a time in my life I've ever experienced that.
It's shut up.
Women in my life know to not try to hush me. But I imagine in your life, Brad, you've dealt with that a lot.
Oh, all the time. Matter of fact, just yesterday. By the way, an aside here, last break, this is like my stream of consciousness, which John makes fun of all the time. And I remember this we were going to break. I say the number one cause of death is retirement. Okay, someone that I know, an acquaintance of mine who retired a month ago, a week after this person retired, she went into the hospital for appendicitis and had to have her appendix taken out. She gets out of the hospital, and then she has problems, and she goes back to the hospital. She has to have kidney stones taken out. And I said to her, go back to work and you'll be fine. And
boy, that's Dr. Brad over here.
Dr. Brad. Okay, I'm going to play this. This is the actual audio from Arnold. Okay, I'm going to shoot the audio. Ready. Pull your headphones off a little bit. Okay, you ready? Here we go.
You got to do things legal, and those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart. Because when you come to America, you're a guest, and you have to behave like a guest. Like when I go to someone's house and I'm a guest, then I will do everything I can, keep things clean, and to make my bed, and to do everything that is the right thing to do, rather than committing a crime or being abusive or something like that. So that doesn't really work in this country. So I think the important thing is, when you become an immigrant, to think about, okay, I go to America because I want to use America for the great opportunities that America has in education, in jobs, creating a family, all of those kind of things. Then you have to think about, okay, if I get all of those things from America, then I have to give something back. You have a responsibility as an immigrant to give back to America and to pay back to America and to go and do something for your community for no money whatsoever.
Okay, John, your reaction? Did I lose you?
No, I'm here, Brad. Sorry, I have to put my headphones on the other side of the room when those play. Yeah, it was great. We talked about it yesterday. What a novel take on being an immigrant.
Okay, here is what I say the immigration situation should be. You should go through the normal paperwork and all that kind of stuff. Maybe speed it up because it takes too long. But then have an interview. Sort of like if you're going to college. And you have to write like a little dissertation of why you want to go to college at that particular institution, and then you get interviewed by a panel of American citizens, some of them from all different, shapes and sizes, different backgrounds, whole bit. Some of them, fifth or sixth or seventh generation Americans, some of them naturalized citizens themselves, and interview these people and ask them questions. Why are you coming here? What skills do you have? What can you help America with? How can your presence here in the United States make both your life better and, more importantly, the lives of other Americans better? And by the way, there's a $1,000 a month fee. What do you think, John?
I think that, civil rights attorneys would have a field day with that, Brad. They would be so angry because you're putting the decision on allowing someone in this country into the subjective hands. What if the panel that did the interviews, what if they were too white? What if they were too male? What if they were too heteronormative? You can't allow human error to judge whether or not people should be allowed in this country, Brad.
See, I know several immigrants. Matter of fact, I told this story before. This is sort of a weird story that not too long before my dad died, he found out about the father, never became, my grandfather was an illegal immigrant, okay? Snuck around under the cover of darkness in the United States until he died. Ironically, was a very talented machinist and also an inventor. Actually has 2 patents to his name.
That's amazing, Brad.
You can look him up and find the patents, okay? But my father one day said to me, I am a first-generation American. And I said, what? He goes, I'm a first-generation American because my father never became an American. And I thought to myself, wow. So that makes me a second-generation American. Okay, John, how long has your family been around?
For a long, yeah, I can't spot it. I can't tell you exactly, but it was certainly pre-Civil War.
So we're talking, you're probably what, third, fourth, fifth generation, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, they were here in the early 1800s.
Maybe even sixth generation, seventh generation,
something like that.
Okay. Now, the interesting point of this is my mother traced her roots back, and she actually belonged to the DAR. You know what the DAR is?
Yeah, Daughters of the American Revolution.
Right. She traced back her side of the family to literally descendants of the American Revolution, that one of her great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers fought in the Revolutionary War. And I don't know if this organization exists anymore, but there used to be a group called the DAR, and they used to get together and have meetings and stuff like that, and they did stuff like this. You know, does that exist anymore?
Yeah, I think it probably still does, and so does Daughters of the Confederacy and groups like that. I think they probably had to change their mission for political correctness, but yeah.
You know, I bet you there's a source. If you went to westplexnews.com right now, I bet you there'd be a source that would tell you all about the DAR.
I know it. I got a big sign that says Nexus landing page.
Okay, John, here's the problem. And this is interesting because if you know about the internet, get very complicated with what I had to do with this website. It got sort of destroyed and I rebuilt it, and then it got screwed up again. I completely destroyed it and built it back up from scratch. I have a DNS propagation issue that I had to change the DNS on it. And the problem is it's there, but whoever you're using, or even if your browser, if you would go to another computer, chances are it would come up, or to your phone or something.
Yeah, it comes up on my phone, Brad.
It does.
Yeah, I see a big gaudy Westplex Chamber of Commerce ad with the incorrect use of grow as a transitive verb, but that's a Brad Hill thing. You could grow your business with Westplex 1071. And then you have my favorite headline is here. My favorite headline on westplexnews.com for folks following along at home. One, there's a headline that says emergency management with some generic language. Another one that says codes and ordinances. Another one that says highway. And then another one that says assessor. So this is vital news for the Westplex. If you want to click on something that says highway that describes what the highway department at St. Charles County government does, you can find it at where else would you be able to find it but westplexnews.com.
You don't see the Missouri Independent article, the very first one?
Yeah, I see one story from the Missouri Independent. And what I love, Brad, is this time you've actually, it looks like, given credit to, because it's a feed, I'm guessing you actually point to the legitimate story. So, Brad, you have a whopping 3 outlets. It's a work in progress. You have 3 outlets: the Missouri Independent, O'Fallon Television, which is riveting. It's right up there with NBC. And then St. Charles County generic news releases. You'll link to this. So instead of going to the Missouri Independent, why don't you just go to Westplex News, and then you can click on a link. You can jump through an extra hoop and then go to the Missouri Independent site.
John, I finished this off I finally got it straightened out about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And you know why there's not much news on there yesterday, John?
Why is that, Brad?
Because it was a holiday and all the government workers weren't at work.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what's crazy is I went to the Missouri Independent this morning, at 5 a.m.
Right.
And I was like, man, they haven't updated. Oh, wait, it was Juneteenth.
Right.
And progressive
There's
blog,
nothing
so
there.
They don't have much news on there.
Right. There's not any news from yesterday. So, John, it's a work in progress. And
I bet everything you do is, Brad.
ultimate goal is to turn this into a real news site for the Westplex. Now,
and Brad, you've done This isn't your first time with Westplex News, right? Like, you've had this website for a long time.
Well, yeah, in a long time, and it's sat there in the background. And quite honestly, the interesting part of it is that it was one of those things that I set up. I probably had this up and going like 5 or 6 years ago. Not to get into the technical aspects of it, but I was hosting it on a hosting service that has gotten somewhat degraded. There are certain hosting services that are now tweaked for WordPress. And this hosting service moved away from that. And it got to the point where if you clicked on westplexnews.com, you could get in your car, drive to Starbucks, talk to Howard Schultz, come back, and it might have been loaded. So now it's to the point where it loads almost instantly. But I had some problems with the DNS and moving it around, stuff like that. But the point of this is that there is no, and this is my goal, and this is the thing that I'm going to try to work on with organizations, where I can set it up where they can automatically post their articles onto Westplex News through an RSS feed. This is an RSS aggregator system, if you know anything what that's all about. And essentially, the idea being that down the road, we will actually generate original content, which will show up there as well, too.
And you've had this plan for a while, right, Brad?
Yes, but the problem has been a technical issue, and I pretty much got it whipped. I mean,
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there's some tweaking still to be done. John saw it the other day. What I was doing was I was testing things in background on Brad's Top 3, one of my new websites, because I had, as we call it, a fresh WordPress install that didn't have any glitches or anything like that. And so I decided, okay, maybe the problem I've got with this is that there's something, if you know anything about WordPress, the downside is it can get very glitchy depending upon what plugins you have. Certain plugins don't play fair with other plugins. So this has happened to me many times where you put a new plugin, all of a sudden your website goes all to hell, and then you contact somebody and they say, oh, the problem is this plugin does not play well, and you have to remove that from your website and redo this, redo that. So I put all the stuff on Brad's Top 3, and I didn't realize it was posting to the main page. As a matter of fact, I think it still might be. I have to take that out now.
It's not. I went there today. It actually looks halfway competent.
Halfway competent.
I mean, it still has your signature, it still looks like Brad did it. But yeah, it's awesome, Brad.
There'll be a day when I'm gone, and there'll be a day that people
when your
will say,
kids try to sell me everything you own, and I say, do I have to take the debt on too? And they say yes, and I say no thanks. I say take it to Tracy Ellis. She'll buy this junk.
There'll be a day when people will say, back in the 90s, Brad started a website. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't realize is Brad started his first website in 1993 when nobody knew what the web was. And now, to this day, there's a phrase that intones incredible approval when someone says, oh, this website looks like Brad did it.
Yeah, I know. And the whole group is called BOW, which are Brad's Orphaned websites. They're all the websites that you start and give up after 2 weeks.
John, you're always complimentary to me, and I never insult you. Never, ever,
I know.
ever.
We had a great week this week, Brad. We worked through a lot of issues. We learned about enneagrams. We learned about why we fight, but more importantly, why we come together.
But more importantly, take your headphones off for a minute. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Unicorn fart dust. That's right, unicorn fart dust.
We learned about that as well, too. John, say goodbye.
See you on Monday, Brad.